Hello, welcome everyone to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I am starting the book of Chronicles, part 1. And before I begin, I just want to give some really interesting facts about this book. Now, the book of Chronicles was originally one book, and it's been broken like the others, Kings and Samuel. It's been broken into 2 books. No one's sure who exactly wrote the book of Chronicles, but there are 2 names that they believe did. The first one is Ezra, who is a priest, and the second is Nehemiah, who is a governor. So they are the 2 people that is believed to have written the book of Chronicles. Now remember, it's a book that was written after all of these events have happened and they are in exile now. So they're reflecting over what has passed and what they can learn from that. So let's get started, because I think you're going to find these chapters very interesting. So chapter 1 begins with Adam. We start with this genealogy going from Adam to the sons of Noah. Now, interestingly enough, Cain and Abel are actually missing from here. They're not mentioned. So we're going from the pre-flood generations to the post-flood generations. So we begin with Adam and end with Japheth. Then we go from Japheth to Rodanim. So this is the sons of Japheth, really. And these are the founders of Europe and Asia. I found this information from the wonderful resource, if you've not heard of it, The Enduring Word. Look that up online. They give so much detail, a brilliant, brilliant website to really get the background information about different chapters within the Bible. We then go from Ham to Hamathiet. So we're covering the descendants of Ham here. And Ham was one of the sons of Noah. Now Ham's generation populated Africa and the Far East. Cush, who was part of Ham's sons, he covered Babylon and Ethiopia. Mizraim, his sons and family, covered Egypt. We now go to Shem, to Abraham. Now remember, Abraham is a very prominent figure in the Bible. So the details of these are, again, Noah's sons, Shem's descendants now. So Shem is Noah's son, and Shem is part of the legacy of Abraham. And Shem's descendants kind of cover Arabia, Syria, Assyria, and Aram. We now move into the sons of Abraham, Isaac and Ishmael, and then the descendants of Abraham through his son Ishmael. So they start with Nebajoth to Kedemah. And remember, to get a clear picture of these names, because I know I'm reading out a lot of names, check the links under this video for chapter 1 and you can see it all laid out there. I'm giving a brief overview here, just touching on the beginning name and the ending name. This chapter then goes through the descendants of Abraham through Kedemah and the descendants of Abraham through Isaac's son, Esau. Now, if you've read the Bible right up to this point, these names should be bringing up those stories to you. You know, we've had stories with Esau, we've had stories with Abraham, we've had stories, of course, of Noah. Most people know of the Noah and the Ark. So we're just going down this list slowly and carefully, with bringing little detail as we go on. You will see a couple of sentences are mentioned about specific people named, but the majority are just simply names. So now that we've covered Abraham's descendants and his sons, we then move on to the kings and chiefs of Edom. So they began before the kings and chiefs of Israel. And this really is like a historical record. It's like going into a graveyard and you're looking at all of these names and the history behind each one. So if you read that chapter, you will see all of the kings listed in Edom, and that is where chapter 1 finishes. Now, God is not mentioned throughout chapter 1 at all, but he is an instrumental part of it all. He was the one who weaved through all of the history and moved them in ways and guided them in ways. Whether they chose to follow his ways was up to them. Free will, remember? So this is looking at where we've been and where we are today with the Israelites. So we now move on to chapter 2, which covers Abraham and the Judah descendants. So we start with the descendants through the sons of Israel, and these make up the 13 tribes of the Israelites. So you will recognize these names, I'm sure. So we begin with Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan. Now Joseph's tribe break up into two. We have the Manasseh and the Ephraim names. Then we have Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. So now from there we move into the descendants of Judah, to the family of Jesse. Now Jesse is the father of King David, and this is the person we will be focusing a lot on in the book of Chronicles. Now there is a huge amount of names in this, because this is one of the biggest tribes, Judah. So again, check out the link for chapter 2 under this video, or read your Bible and you will have a look and you will be able to see everybody involved in that tribe. Now when you're going through some of the names on the Judah tribe, you'll see some were quite dark, some people in there, and wickedness. So they're starting to pop up and they're listing them and noting them in the book of Chronicles. Then we go to Hezron's family, who is the grandson of Judah. So they cover all of his names. Then Jerahmeel's family, again, who is Judah's great-grandson, cover his family. And then that closes chapter 2. So our final chapter today is chapter 3. And now we are covering King David and his father Jesse. So it covers the descendants of David. They start with his wives of David and his sons. Then David's sons, as he moved to Jerusalem, because he had many more wives there. He was there for 7 years and 6 months. And this is where he had Solomon. And funnily enough, in the Chronicles, he's not listed as the firstborn, which he is in the actual Kings, Book of Kings. He's noted as the 4th son for some reason. Now, whether this was a scribe error, we don't know. So then we go into the royal line with David, and that starts with Solomon. And some of the people that are named there in this lineage of the royalty who were kings, you will know these names as well if you've been reading the Bible up until this point. So we've got Rehoboam, Zedekiah, Ahaz, and Manasseh, who was a pretty evil king. And then chapter 3 ends with the line of David once the Judah tribe end in exile to Babylon. So with these 3 chapters, we've started with the very first man, Adam, and we've moved right down through the generations, covering Noah, covering Abraham, covering the kings. We're at King David, King Solomon, all the kings that went under him. They have now come to that point where they are now in Babylon. So what are they going to do with this information? Is it going to help them relook at things and get back to repossessing that land that they have lost because of their sinning? So let's leave it there. I know there's been a lot of names just given here, but if you read those 3 links under this video, it'll make more sense to you, because you can read through it there. I've highlighted little bits, and again, check out the Enduring Word, because they will really give you the details if you want to know more behind the scenes, and are inquisitive. I can't really cover it all within a short video, but yeah, finding this book really interesting so far. I hope you are too, and we'll continue tomorrow with more chapters in the book of Chronicles, part 1. Thanks for being here. Take care now. Bye.